You weren't meant to ignore this. You glance at the clock, 1:11. You smile, maybe even whisper, "There it is again." Then it shows up on a receipt, on a license plate, on a building number. Everywhere you go, you keep seeing it. 111, 222, 555. Over and over, like the universe is trying to get your attention. Most people laugh it off, call it coincidence. But what if it's not? What if these numbers aren't random, but intentional? What if they're not just something you're noticing, but something that's noticing you? These repeating sequences are more than patterns. They're messages, codes, signs that you're entering a new phase, one where you're being guided more than ever before. Each number means something specific. Each one arrives with a purpose. And if you learn to recognize what they're trying to tell you, your entire direction can shift, quietly, powerfully, permanently. Because when the same numbers keep following you, it's not about math, it's about alignment. You're not just noticing them, they're noticing you. You didn't choose the numbers, they chose you. You may think you're just noticing them more, but the truth is, these patterns began showing up when something shifted in you. Your awareness, your frequency, your openness. Repeating numbers don't randomly chase people around. They respond to vibrational readiness. You begin seeing them because you've entered a phase where guidance is not just possible, it's necessary. At this level, the universe stops sending loud answers. Instead, it sends subtle confirmations, quiet echoes that tell you, you're on the edge of something. And because numbers are universal, free from language, culture, or religion, they become the perfect tool for contact. When your mind is too loud to hear your intuition, these numbers show up as external anchors that say, pause, look again, something is shifting. It's not about the clock, it's not about where you are, it's about who you're becoming. You're not just waking up to the signs are waking up to you. 111, the awakening code. You see 111, and something stirs. A quiet nudge, a feeling that something has just begun. This number isn't decoration, it's a signal of initiation. When 111 appears, it means your thoughts are aligning with creation itself. What you think, you attract. What you focus on, you multiply. It's the number of new chapters, new energy, a blank page with a blinking cursor waiting for you to type what comes next. If 111 keeps showing up, your spirit is asking, are you paying attention to what you're creating, even in your mind? Because this isn't about blind optimism, it's about energetic responsibility. 111 amplifies whatever you're carrying, fear, hope, doubt, or clarity. It's a reminder that your inner world is shaping your outer one faster than ever, which means this moment matters, and what you choose to believe right now could become your next reality. When you see 111, take a breath, get quiet, and ask yourself, what am I unconsciously calling in? Because the universe is already listening. 222, the alignment code. You see 222, again and again, in places where it doesn't belong, but somehow always makes sense. This isn't just balance, it's confirmation. 222 shows up when the universe wants you to trust the invisible path you're walking. When you're wondering if the timing is right, if the people around you are meant to stay, if the decision you made last week is already rippling outward. This number is your quiet yes, a soft but powerful signal that things are lining up, even if you can't see the outcome yet. It also points toward relationships, connections forming or rebalancing, partnerships being tested, alignment being refined. 222 tells you to breathe in the uncertainty, not to fear it, to let the middle ground be sacred, because growth doesn't only happen at the beginning or end. It happens right here, in the pause, in the space between what you know and what you're about to know. And here's the deeper truth. When you see 222, it means you're not walking alone. Support is present, whether it's visible or not. You're not being asked to rush, you're being asked to trust. 333, the communication code. You see 3:33 on the clock. You're not thinking of anything. But suddenly, you are. A memory, an urge, a sentence that forms out of nowhere. That's not random. 333 is the call to listen, not with your ears, but with your intuition. It often shows up when spirit guides, higher self, or even your future version is trying to send a message you've been too busy, distracted, or afraid to hear. It's not a warning. It's a prompt, an invitation to speak your truth, express your insight, and tune into the voice that's been whispering beneath the noise. 333 is also deeply connected to creative flow and expression. When this number appears frequently, it's a sign that your voice, your gift, or your vision is meant to come forward. Not later. Now. Maybe you've been doubting your clarity, second-guessing your purpose, holding back something that wants to move through you. 333 reminds you, you're not just here to consume meaning, you're here to transmit it. So when this number finds you, pause and ask, what truth in me is ready to be spoken, written, or released? Because your silence is no longer neutral. It's a message waiting to become movement. 444, the protection code. You glance at the clock. 4:44. It shows up again. You weren't looking for it. But there it is, like a silent anchor in the middle of your day. At first, it feels like a coincidence. But after the third, fourth, fifth time, you feel it. This number is holding something deeper. In spiritual numerology, 444 is the signal of protection, not the kind that shields you from challenge, but the kind that reminds you you're surrounded. This number appears when you're on edge, when fear creeps in, when uncertainty clouds your path. It doesn't remove the weight, but it reminds you that you're not carrying it alone. 444 is often sent by your guardian guides, the ones that stand behind you quietly, holding the line while you move through the storm. It's their way of saying, we're here. Keep walking. We're holding the ground beneath your next step. You may see 444 during transitions, loss, emotional breakthroughs, or when you're standing on the edge of a big decision. And it doesn't just mean protection from the outside, it means protection from your own self-doubt. From the inner collapse that happens when you forget your power. The message is simple, but strong. You're not exposed. You're being fortified. And everything that seems to be falling apart is actually rearranging to support you. 555, the transformation code. You start seeing it everywhere. 5:55 on the clock. $5.55 on your receipt. Page 555 in the book you weren't even planning to read. It doesn't whisper. It pulses. 555 is not subtle, because transformation never is. When this number appears, it usually means one thing. Change is already in motion. Not planned, not always comfortable, but necessary. Spiritually, 555 is the code of realignment. A signal from your guides that something in your external world is about to shift to match what's already happening within you. Relationships, jobs, beliefs, versions of yourself that you've outgrown. They start to crack, not to punish you, but to make room for what your soul asked for long ago. People often fear this number because it comes with friction, doors closing, surprises, sudden clarity that leaves no room for denial. But here's the truth. 555 is divine renovation. It tears down illusions. It interrupts patterns. It puts you in motion when you've been standing still for too long. When you see 555, ask yourself, what in my life feels tight, false, or expired? Because that's where the transformation wants to begin. And don't resist it, because what's falling apart was never meant to stay. And what's coming next needs the space you're finally about to create. You always see them. During emotional tension or transition, the pattern is impossible to ignore. Every time you're about to give up, you see it. Every time you feel lost, overwhelmed, or stuck between two paths, there it is again. These numbers don't appear during stillness. They show up during emotional friction, moments where the old is crumbling and the new hasn't arrived yet. It's not random. Your spirit guides send number codes most intensely when your energy is at a breaking point. Because in those moments, you're more open, more raw, more willing to notice what can't be explained, because everything else stopped making sense. You might see 111 when your identity is shifting. You might see 555 when your plans fall apart, or 444 when anxiety floods your chest and you silently ask, "Is someone out there with me?" That number appears as an anchor, not to give you the answer, but to remind you you're being watched, guided, and aligned in real time. The chaos you're feeling's not a collapse, it's a conversation, and those numbers are the pauses between the words. They reflect the frequency you're emitting. You're not seeing random numbers, you're seeing reflections, because every number code, 111, 222, 333, isn't just a message, it's a mirror. Spirit guides don't send signals disconnected from your energy. They respond to it. The number you see most often, it matches the exact vibration you're living right now. Seeing 111, you're in an energetic state of initiation, new ideas, identity shifts, mental clarity. Seeing 222, you're craving balance, connection, alignment. Seeing 999, you're nearing the end of a cycle you've outgrown. These numbers don't push. They reflect back the frequency you're already emitting. That's why they feel so intimate, so eerily personal. You might think, why do I keep seeing this number? But the better question is, what energy am I radiating that keeps calling this number into my reality? When your field changes, so do the codes. And when you raise your awareness, you stop chasing signs and start reading yourself. You're being prepared, not punished. When things start falling apart, when nothing makes sense, when numbers start flashing louder than ever, your first thought might be, am I being warned? Am I in danger? But you're not. You're being prepared. Spirit guides don't send number codes to frighten you. They send them to train your awareness, to sharpen your inner response system, to remind you that chaos isn't the enemy. It's the curriculum. You don't see 555 because you're being punished. You see it because your old life can't hold your new energy. You don't see 999 because everything is ending. You see it because something greater is finally ready to begin. These codes show up not as red flags, but as activation signals. They arrive when your soul is being stretched, when you're being invited to a higher timeline that your ego isn't ready for, but your essence already agreed to. So next time you see the number at the worst moment, don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what am I being equipped for? Because every number that feels like a warning is actually a preparation for your own becoming. The more you acknowledge them, the more precise they become. At first, the numbers feel random. They pop up on clocks, receipts, street signs. You notice, then dismiss. But the moment you pause and say, "I see it, I feel it," everything changes, because spiritual communication isn't about volume. It's about receptivity. The more you consciously acknowledge these number codes, the more refined and personal they become. At first, it's 222. Later, it's 222 on the day you're considering quitting your job. Then it's a $222 payment from a client when you're doubting your path. That's not luck. That's precision, increasing with your attention. Your spirit guides operate on the law of engagement. If you respond, they reveal more. If you treat the message as sacred, they get specific. This isn't about becoming obsessed with numbers. It's about understanding that guidance gets clearer when your awareness becomes sharper. The more you pay attention, the more the signs align with exact questions, exact emotions, exact crossroads. It becomes a conversation, one you no longer question, because it starts answering things you haven't said out loud. What happens when you ignore the numbers? The signs were there. You saw them, felt them, and still, you brushed them off. You thought, "It's just a number. I'm overthinking. It doesn't mean anything." But spiritual communication doesn't stop when you ignore it. It shifts, it waits, and eventually it goes quiet. Not out of punishment, but because you stopped responding. When you treat the numbers as noise, your path begins to blur. You start feeling disconnected, uncertain, out of rhythm with yourself. The flow disappears, synchronicity breaks. You loop through the same patterns again and again without realizing you've muted the GPS that was trying to reroute you. Ignoring the numbers isn't just missing a message. It's missing the alignment those messages were offering. The right people, the right decisions, the right timing. All of it starts to drift. And most people don't even notice what they've lost until it's gone. But here's the mercy in all of this. You can always start listening again. The signs never resent you. They just wait. For the moment you remember that what looks like repetition was always an invitation. It was never just a number. It started small. A number here, a sign there. You thought it was coincidence, then pattern, then maybe something more. Now you know. It was never just a number. It was a language, a frequency, a message written in the rhythm of your reality. You're not being tested, you're being guided. Every time 111 appears, you're being invited into a new identity. Every time 444 appears, you're being reminded that you are protected. And when 999 arrives, it's not the end. It's the preparation for a new beginning. These numbers are not decorations. They are portals. And every time you see one, the universe is asking you a question. Are you paying attention or just passing through? How you answer decides what happens next. See the numbers. Start listening. If you've been seeing the same number over and over, 111, 222, 555, 777, drop it in the comments, not just for you, but because your message might unlock clarity for someone else too. And in the next video, I'll show you how to use these number codes actively to accelerate decisions, break cycles, and align with what's already waiting for you on the next frequency. So subscribe, turn on notifications, because the next number might not just be a sign, it might be the confirmation you've been asking for. And when the archives open again, you'll feel it. Until next one, Astral Archives transmission complete.